Well, as they say, the best laid plans of mice and men, yada yada yada. Try to sleep in this car, ET5T, and the problem isn't the mattress. The mattress isn't that bad. The actual problem, turns out, is all the trucks and stuff going back and forth. So not a good night's sleep. Look at all these trucks. When I parked last night, this place was like empty. The only thing over here was a couple cars charging and sleeping at the NIO charger. And some people have come and gone, but mostly a bunch of trucks came. Now look here, I know some people talk about NIO having some, should make clear what this is. What is this power swap station? So as you drive past here and you go to charge your car, which is, these are the only chargers here at this rest station, are the NIO ones. It does have a sign here, and this says NIO battery swap station. It says 3 minutes, man dian chu fa. That means full battery, and then you can keep going, basically. And it says how many battery swap stations there are. Not yet. It says this year there's going to be 2,300 battery swap stations, that sort of thing. And again, it's fully automated, and they even have a sign here that says, hey, this battery swap station is 24 hours, don't park in front of it. So that's for the truckers and stuff, like this guy that came to park next to me and decided that, I don't know, it's just gonna be very loud. There was actually another truck here, and another truck here, and then a million other trucks. All right, so we just did a power swap, and we have 92% of our battery capacity full, state of charge, and that says estimated 403 kilometers. So right now what we're gonna do is we're gonna try to give you essentially a range test, but maybe not a full range test, of course, because we're not charged up to 100%, and we're probably not gonna take it down to 0%, but we can still get a pretty good estimate of how much range this car can get. So this is, of course, still an ET5 Touring with a 100 kilowatt hour battery pack, and we're riding on the 20-inch wheels. So I gotta fix my mirrors real quick. I can't see. I don't know why they did that. Oh, that guy crashed. Hold on. They keep doing this. I don't want to crash. Okay. All right. So one of the things I want to do while we go on this little road trip together is I want you to pay attention to how much bings and bongs and sounds you get from this car, how much you hear normally talking, because I know that a lot of people, especially in Europe, they say that there's a lot of sounds that the Chinese cars have and they don't like it and they can't adjust it. And this guy, no, lady, no, Jesus Christ. And so it's not entirely true. You can adjust it quite extensively. So right now I have it basically set so that Nomi will only really talk if I respond, or if I ask her a question. If I talk to her, she'll respond to me, and also she will say something or intervene, make a sound if there's some sort of emergency. And we go, we're about to hit the toll road over here. So you'll notice there's not a lot of sounds, not a lot of annoying sounds going on. And I know that part of the problem in Europe, at least from what I've read on the NIO app and on other sources, is that in Europe you kind of have to start with the sounds already on, I guess, and then you can toggle them off. Okay, so what I was saying was that I guess in Europe, supposedly, you have to start every time you start the car with the sounds on, which can, I agree, be kind of annoying, but I guess that's the regulation. So here, I set it to my profile to have basically no sounds on, and that's how it is. It's a very, very quiet car. So as we get onto the highway, also you'll hear that there's not a lot of road noise or wind noise. It's very, very well insulated, very quiet car in that regard as well. And now I don't know how this is going to go because I'm using the NIO phone to film this. I don't know how much that's going to pick up the background noise, and I don't know how much it's going to pick up my voice, because this is really my first time attempting to film anything with the NIO phone, especially in a moving vehicle. So did I say NIO phone? I think I said NIO phone. In a moving vehicle. So
we're gonna do that. Test out the NIO phone, test out the range of this car, and yeah, that's what's happening today. We are in Guangxi, like I said. It's right kind of near the border with Vietnam, or on the border with Vietnam, so it's a very, very beautiful place. If you've seen those really cool karst landscapes, you're gonna see us driving through some of them, hopefully, as we go. And you might even see, probably not again, because the camera's not gonna pick up everything, but there's signs around here in Vietnamese as well. So that is also pretty cool. Lots of really interesting culture, geography, physical landscapes down here. They've updated a lot of things compared to how NIO Pilot used to be. And so it's a lot better, a lot more clear what's happening. So used to be on my car, my EC6 a long time ago, whenever I would take my hands off the steering wheel, Nomi would say something, like a really long sentence, and it would be very, very, I guess I should say, annoying. And now, when you take out your hands off the steering wheel, I believe you can still toggle that back on where it's like a sound, an indicator. But right now, if I take my hands off the steering wheel, for about 2 seconds, a little icon will pop up there. And that's the first one. It'll pop up there for maybe 10-15 seconds. Then eventually, it'll say, make a noise or something, say I'm gonna turn off NIO Pilot because you're not touching the steering wheel, so put your hands on the steering wheel. One cool thing about that is you don't have to like nudge it like some other cars on autopilot. If you have your hands off the wheel, they want you to tug on the steering wheel. You don't do that. All you gotta do is put your hands anywhere on the steering wheel, and I mean anywhere. Even I can drive like this. When I do my range tests, you know, some people like to go 100% down to 0%. I don't want to do that. I don't want to ruin my day and run out of energy. That's one thing. But also, I'd rather do a range test that's more like realistic on how people are going to actually use their car and test their range or use the range of their car. So, of course, it's different in Europe versus China, but here we have a lot of power swap stations. And when you swap your battery, it usually goes to 92 or 93% battery charge. And most people can't charge at home, so they're not going to be charging to 100%. Because even if you supercharge outside, you charge to 100%, it's going to take a very, very long time. So most people, you know, they charge to 80 or 90%. So that's what we're doing. First of all, we're doing from 92%, 93% what we started at today. And we're going to drive down to, try to go as low as we can go without cutting it too close until we charge again. One of the great things about this car is that the estimated range is very, very accurate, and it constantly updates based on your driving style or what you're doing with the car. So right now it says my estimated range is 407 kilometers, and that's again estimated based on my driving speed, my style, how much energy I've been using. Essentially it takes an average of your last 100 kilometers, and then it predicts how far you're going to be able to go in your next, and on the rest of this battery. Now it also has, of course, the WLTP or WEDC range, or whatever they use in China, and that says 617 kilometers, which is, obviously I'm not going to be able to go that far unless I'm going like 60 kilometers per hour downhill or whatever. So that's not going to happen, all right, with no air conditioner or that sort of thing. So that's that. We have 400 kilometers to go to this targeted charging area that I want to get to. So again, it says 411 kilometers is what's predicted based on my driving. And so boom, 400, we should be able to make it. It's very, very accurate. We'll see. We might have to make an adjustment. Also, it's not very hot today. It's pretty hot today. It's 28 degrees right now, Celsius. And so I have the air conditioner set to 22 degrees. So that also will impact our range on this range test today. Additionally, on this range test today, we gotta factor in that Guangxi and Yunnan are a little bit mountainous. There's lots of hills up and down. It's not like the Alps or anything. It's not really, really high mountains, but there is gonna be some undulating terrain, which will also impact our ability to maximize the range here. And again, I think that's okay because not everybody lives in a perfectly flat place with perfect 70-degree weather or 20 degrees Celsius weather every day. So, okay, she's talking again, right? So that's because she says there's road construction and to be careful. So like I said, only like emergency alerts will she kind of intervene now. It's very, very quiet otherwise. Where was I? Oh yeah, so a range test, of course I could drive 100% to 0%, and keep it at 90 kilometers per hour or 100 kilometers an hour the whole way and see really maximize how far this thing can go. But I don't really believe that's how people drive their car, and I don't really think that's important to know. What's important to know is how far you can go in normal circumstances. You know, if you can go, if I expect that I can go 400 kilometers in normal circumstances, then that also means that I know it wants me to take over in this construction area. Okay, so it also means that, you know, I would know that in exceptional circumstances, I could actually go further, right? So I think that's really what's important with regards to a range test. You might think differently, I don't know, but for me, that's what I think is important. So that's what we're gonna do. So we'll see you at the end of this test and see how far this car has gone. I drove to this Xpeng charger, and thankfully it worked after a great deal of fiddling, because I had 2% charge left, state of charge on the car. Now, before I tell you how many miles or kilometers I actually drove just now, let me just tell you that, again, it was quite undulating. I had the climate control on set to 22 degrees most of the time. I used massage function on the seat some of the time, and had the window down some of the time for the dog, all that stuff. That being said, I started with 93% of the battery and got down to 2%. And I drove 395.7 kilometers, 395.7. 10% would be, I guess, 39 or so kilometers. So I guess on this sort of terrain, in this sort of environment, in a full car with stuff, if you did 100%, you could get, let's say, 420 kilometers. Now, yesterday, speaking of, like I mentioned the best laid plans and all that, because actually I tried to do this yesterday, and there was a huge storm in Shenzhen. A lot of rain, really bad weather, wind, but flat most of the way in the first section of the trip. And that was 398 kilometers. So very consistent, I might say. And that was down to, I think, 3%. So I got a little bit farther on flat ground in the rain. So it looks like a NIO ET5 touring in generally unpleasant conditions. Oh my God, easy freaking out. In generally unpleasant conditions, you can get about 400 kilometers of range. Now, in ideal conditions, I would suspect, and again, that's if you try to like maximize your range, like if you really wanted to get as far as you can go, like you don't know where the next charger is, if you maybe drove at 80 or 90 kilometers per hour instead of 100, 110, 120 like I do, because I do the speed limit, then probably you can get, I would guess, 100% to 0%, close to 500 kilometers. If it's perfectly flat, perfect weather, probably more than 500 kilometers in one full charge. So probably not the most efficient car of all time. Also, if you have smaller wheels, etc., that sort of thing. But I find, especially if the infrastructure is enough where you can just power swap, you don't need that much range, to be honest. But, you know, here in far west China and maybe in Europe, there's not enough infrastructure for doing that. But like when I first started from Shenzhen yesterday, I power swapped three times, yeah. And this is my first time charging. So I've gone like, I don't know, 1,500 kilometers. I got to check. And only power swapped until now. And now we're in a little bit of a desert of power swapping. So that's why I'm charging. And then actually, if I had a slightly better capacity battery, or slightly better range on this car, like if it was a little bit more efficient, I could have made it to a power swap station, because there's one about, I don't know, 70 kilometers away. So if I was going 100 to 0 and I was going slower or flatter or not using the climate control and that sort of thing, I could have probably made it, but I didn't want to force it. I didn't want to charge to 100 or any of that stuff. I'm only going to charge for 10-15 minutes so I can get to the next power swap station. That should be plenty. So thank you for watching this entire video if you made it this far, and remember, this is all NIO phone. I'm shaking it. This is all NIO phone filming and audio, so if it's better than what I usually do, good. If it's not up to par to what I usually do, bad. I'm sorry, my first time doing it. We'll see how it goes. So let me know in the comments what you think about it and what you think about the range and how beautiful this car is. It's so beautiful. And it's really a blast to drive. And now that I'm not doing a range test, I can let loose a little bit. So
yeah.
See you guys.